Okay. So, every human being has the right to have access to clean water. There are developed countries that people do not have access to clean water, and there's undeveloped countries where people do not have access to clean water. For example, in the developed countries, we have the United States, Europe, Australia, and 10 million people still lack access to clean water. But in undeveloped countries, like Africa, 345 million people lack access to clean water. Southwest and Central Asia, 196 million. And Southeast and East Asia, 200 million lack access to clean water. So I don't know if any of you have heard, but Westminster Choir College is under a bottled water only advisory. That means you cannot brush your teeth with that water. You cannot drink the water from the water fountains. If you shower, you can't get the water in your eyes. This affects the community. Imagine if we never had clean water. If we couldn't just go to the water fountain at our disposal and take a sip of water. Oil and gas industries have the right to drill for natural gas. They do so by a process called hydraulic fracturing, which is also called fracking or drilling for natural gas. This website is a great explanation of how hydraulic fracturing works, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I wanted to show you. So for example, hydraulic fracturing or fracking takes water and it's put into tanker trucks, and the tanker trucks are driven to these well sites that drill for the natural gas. The water arrives at the fracking site. It's mixed with sand and chemicals, and that is what is highly pressurized into the ground. What happens is this highly pressurized mixture of water, sand, and over 600 chemicals is shot down tens of thousands of feet into the earth, where it finally hits the shale, which is a rock or coal formation that holds natural gas. When this highly pressurized water comes straight down and then automatically curves horizontally, it causes the shale fracture to crack. This is how they drill for the natural gas and how it comes back up to the surface. This is how we harvest it. So, the fracking fluid is the substance that they use of the water, the sand, and over 600 chemicals to harvest the natural gas that's in the shale formation. Each well uses millions of gallons of water in order to frack the well, which is 200 to 400 tanker trucks per frack, and a well can be fracked 18 to 20 times. That's 3 to 5 million gallons of water used just for the harvest of natural gas. So the chemicals, there is a 47-page list of chemicals that are used in the fracking process. Now that might not seem a lot to you because no one really knows all the chemicals and we're not all scientists here, but more than 600 chemicals like methanol, acetone, ammonia, butane, chloroform, and formaldehyde are injected deep into our Earth's core. So a 4 million gallon fracking operation uses 80 to 330 tons of chemicals. Now, chemicals or waste that is in the ground, some studies show that 90% of that fracking fluid can stay in the ground and never returns back to the surface. So for example, you probably can't see this chart very well, but this is an example of some of the chemicals that are used in the fracking process. And these are the health effects that are associated with each chemical. So for diammonium peroxide disulfate, which is 29% of the mixture, causes skin, eye, and sensory organs, respiratory problems, gastrointestinal and liver problems, brain and nervous system problems, immune problems, and cardiovascular and blood problems. These are the main chemicals that are used. Now imagine that that's stuck in the earth, in the shale. And that can cause all those problems. Well, what's in the shale? What's down that far in our Earth's core that we use on a regular basis? Does anybody know? We have aquifers that are down deep in the earth. Aquifers are underground water deposits, and they're everywhere. This is what towns, cities, even personal homes use their wells to connect to be able to have water, clean drinking water. The wastewater and the chemicals left behind after they're processed start to seep into these aquifers that are down deep into the core of our earth. The wastewater and the fracking fluid that was recovered from the site, which is probably only 10 to 30% of the entire fracking fluid used, is stored in open pits or tanks at the well site, which allows it to seep easily into our water sources. So the 2005 Energy Policy Act exempts fracking from the Safe Drinking Water Act. How does that make sense? How is that possible? It's called the Halliburton loophole. The EPA states in their study on chemicals and fracking that at this point in time they can make no judgment if the chemicals cause any issues or health-related problems. So the harmful impacts of fracking are explosions, earthquakes in areas that aren't prone to earthquakes, health issues like I've explained, and dirty water. There's methane in the water around these places that have wells that are drilling to the shale.
Ooh.
This is an example of a woman in Pennsylvania who's setting her tap water on fire. And another, and another, and another, and another, 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 another.
Oh. Righteous.
I can often hold a standard kitchen match to my water, and like I said, it is unpredictable, but the methane randomly travels with the water, and sometimes it will light quite spectacularly. Just like that.
That's scary.
Is that Westminster?
So, how many of you know what the Marcellus Shale is? Ever heard of it? It's a 95,000 square mile shale of natural gas located underneath New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. They are drilling in our backyards and causing people's water supply to go up in flames. We're lucky to have clean drinking water. We have the power to stop these harmful practices, but it will continue if you sit around and do nothing. So is this worth giving up for natural gas?